What is the Spirit Temple? In simplest terms, Koume and Kotake's shrine of worship to themselves, the goddess of sand, a shrine to a spiritual being which in reality is not a deity but a cover of the two dark sorceress witches who represent the true evil and curse of the Gerudo, a venomous snake that poisons the leadership of the tribe. Details that will make abundantly clear throughout this theory. Hello there, Common Wolfram here, and welcome to Ocarina of Time's thematically most important dungeon, the Spirit Temple, which explains the upbringing and later tyranny of Ganondorf and the fight against him by the Hero of Time and even the Gerudo tribe itself. So let's start from the beginning based on the order we reach the temple in the game. When Link first arrived at the edge of the Desert Colossus and the female carved temple, a structure sharing both influences from our world's ancient Egypt and Jordan, Petra. Here, right at the exterior and interior entrance, Link encounters two individuals in two different time periods, past and present of the adult and downfall timelines. Initially, Link arrives at the Spirit Temple as an adult, but is unable to proceed as there's a big block and a tiny hole that prevents further exploration. Instead, there's the following dual riddle and guide. If you want to proceed the past, you should return with the heart of a true child. And opposite to it, if you want to travel to the future, you should return with the power of silver from the past. Adult Link is simply not able to proceed, so Sheik approaches him and says the following: the past, present and future. The Master Sword is a ship with which you can sail upstream or downstream through Time's river. The port for that ship is the Temple of Time. End quote. Or more specifically, in order to conquer the Spirit Temple, Link has to go back in time by placing the Master Sword back on its pedestal. Then play the Requiem of Spirit to return to the temple and enter it as a child. The first key duality to this temple is thus time, specifically past and future, child and adult, both key to the impact and unrivaled pacing of Ocarina of Time. Within the entrance chamber of the interior, we meet the lead female of the Gerudo, Nabooru, who seeks to weaken her king Ganondorf, the first male born into the tribe after 100 years. She faces the same challenge as Link did in the future. As an adult, she cannot enter deeper into the temple due to its barriers unless she can get hold of the silver gauntlets in the Desert Colossus' right hand to remove the effing rock blocking the further path to the right side of the temple. In return for the gauntlets, she promises to do something great for Link. Sadly for her, she fell straight into the trap of the temple's true masters, Koume and Kotake, the two witches who then brainwashed her for 7 long years, the same amount of time as Ganondorf ruled over Hyrule as the King of Evil. This is our second duality tied to this temple, Nabooru's fall coinciding with Ganondorf's rise. Needless to say, Koume and Kotake didn't want a secret training ground or school of manipulating potentially good and wise male Gerudo rulers into evil tyrants to become known to the all-female society. After all, they have their own military training grounds within and next to the Gerudo fortress, though far less sinister in nature. In truth, the Spirit Temple had a dual purpose. First, it was a shrine to pray to the goddess of sand, but as we have now established, the female Gerudo have in actuality been praying to the nearly 400-year-old Koume and Kotake. Secondly, it is the site where Ganondorf's childhood and potential innocence was destroyed. How? As here, he was molded by his dark surrogate mothers, or mother, to be a cruel leader. A transition from childhood to adulthood to eventually become the King of Darkness. A true spiritual journey of none other than power. The key to activating the reincarnated hatred of the Mice himself. Even so, building up strength, character and spirit takes time. Hence there's a child and adult section to this temple. One final trial in each case, the Iron Knuckle, which stands in the way of getting to the next section of the temple. Upon completing the adult section, and also being brainwashed by Twinrova, Ganondorf was the adult Gerudo king that Koume and Kotake needed as he led them and the tribe into Hyrule Field. For a while, Ganondorf successfully commanded his female Gerudo army during the Hyrulean Civil War, but was eventually humiliated by the Hylians, which led to his path of revenge and power under the guidance of his surrogate mother, and their combined goal became the Triforce. Ganondorf probably finished his training in temple prior to the Hero of Time's birth, who ironically will be the next to face the same trials, and then some more with all of Ganondorf's minions found in the Spirit Temple. The spiritual or mental transition from childhood to adulthood, and with this one, Link completed his own path. As when Twinrova fell, the hero is no longer a child in an adult's body, but an adult through and through, in both body and spirit. With it, he is at last ready to meet up again with the now adult Princess Zelda and face Ganondorf, the King of Evil. He has gone through all trials of Hyrule, including the ones Ganondorf went through when he was groomed for power by Twinrova. He's the adult hero of light Hyrule needs to face the self-proclaimed king of evil and darkness. This key detail might be the answer as to why the Zelda team late in Ocarina's development made the Spirit Temple the final trial prior to Ganon's castle, instead of the initially planned Shadow Temple. Since Ocarina of Time is in truth a story about growth, or more specifically, having Link team up with those who stand in Ganondorf's way to remain in power. The Gerudo tribe isn't just darkness, but has plenty of light, something that this temple also reflects and which we will get back to soon enough. But first we have to recognize that this place shares the same dual nature found in the first adult temple, the Forest Temple, and it fits the game perfectly, especially with how Nabooru is integrated into the pacing of the temple. As soon as we are able to progress within the temple in the past, we first meet her in the entrance hall. Then upon claiming the silver gauntlet, we see her being caught with dark sorcery by Koume and Kotake outside, until we meet again in the temple's core in the future. This also explains why all of the 3 mini-bosses in the child and adult sections of the temple are Iron Knuckles, the most iconic mini-boss in Ocarina of Time alongside Darkling. All building up to the final and third confrontation, which turns out to be against none other than the brainwashed Nabooru. Though she would never have been freed even for a brief moment if the hero did not claim the mirror shield located within the Desert Colossus' left hand, the ultimate tool of reflection and representation of both the dark and light of the Gerudo tribe. Fittingly though, getting to Koume and Kotake happens not by attaching our longshot to the goddess's right nipple, which is a developer joke, but by using the mirror shield to reflect light to break the head of the goddess of sand. And guess what is on top of that head? A cobra head. Very symbolic indeed, as getting through the head breaks the cover. The goddess of sand is Koume and Kotake, but to reach this truth, Link had to first pass through the child section and defeat the first Iron Knuckle to claim the silver gauntlet, then return as an adult with said gauntlet, push the stone into its hole and slowly progress towards the other Iron Knuckle who blocked the path to the mirror shield. With that said, we have to go over the symbolism of the sun and moon in this temple, which we take full advantage of after claiming the mirror shield. The sun symbols of the temple are just as introduced in 1998, but the moon has lost some of its visibility in this temple as it was diminished in the Gerudo crest in later releases. Needless to say, this has hidden some of the great symbolism of the temple in the original Nintendo 64 version, mainly the original crest of Ganondorf and the Gerudo in the game. The crescent moon, since it was later changed to the current crest for political, religious, not gameplay reasons. Specifically the Eastern Roman sun against the Islamic moon, and in extension, Christian Crusader knights against Muslim warriors, Greeks against Turks. Needless to say, the crescent moon crest along with the Islamic chanting in the Fire Temple were among the key controversies of Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64. All were changed in Ocarina's later releases, beginning from the GameCube. In fact, this connection, so deeply rooted to the Spirit Temple, might go much further than this. As earlier this year I flew to Istanbul for a week to explore the Bosphorus, to go deeper into my suspicion regarding the original Gerudo crest, and with it the Spirit Temple. The only major city in the world placed across 2 continents. In the past it was the capital of the Roman Empire, Constantinople, and was replaced by the Ottoman Empire, Islam and Istanbul. With it, the ancient sun of the Romans was also replaced by the crescent moon of the Ottoman Turks. It is clear that some of the symbolism was present when the Middle Eastern-inspired Gerudo were conceptualized as the opposing force of the European-inspired Hylians for Ocarina of Time. The snake, which is clearly present within the goddess of sand and throughout the Spirit Temple. It poisons a pure spirit with its venom. The Dark Sorcerer's twin sisters, Koume and Kotake, who first poisoned Ganondorf, and then when Link was a child, Nabooru. Good, we got the vicious snake out of the way as we cross past the lie about the goddess of sand, through where her head used to be. And who do we find on the other side? Koume and Kotake, and the final and strongest Iron Knuckle. Upon dealing the necessary blows that leads to its fall, we naturally find the brainwashed Nabooru within the armor. Free at last, but then immediately captured again by the venomous snake of the Gerudo tribe, and sadly with it, her fate is sealed. As from this point on, her life depends on what happens to her tormentors, the Dark Sorcerer's sisters, Twinrova. The boss of the Spirit Temple is the only regular temple boss that has a dual form, establishing the tradition of multiform boss fights in 3D Zelda games. First you fight Koume and Kotake, each attacking with fire and ice, which you use to burn or freeze the opposite twin sister by reflecting the energy in the mirror shield to strike the opposite. Once again, Duality. Then the two combine into a different, and probably the youthful form of the two, Twinrova, the only boss until Ganondorf who has a second form in Ocarina of Time. Not attack pattern, but form. The difference is key, and it is up to you to store their dual energy but not combine them at any stage or it will blow up in your face. Ultimately, you overcome their combined dark sorcery and kill the 400-plus-year-old hags, leaving their actual spirits to quarrel before passing away to the afterlife, with it fulfilling the true name and meaning, the Spirit Temple. Life and death, flesh and spirit, which we see both with Koume and Kotake, but also Nabooru, as both face a life and death situation with the hero's return in the future. The tragedy of Koume and Kotake's fall in the adult timeline is that Nabooru also falls, but gladly has her effort against Ganondorf fulfilled, as she's awakened as the Sage of Spirit with the power to aid the Hero of Time in bringing down Ganondorf. Yes, Nabooru is the first to recognize this link as the Hero of Time in the Chamber of Sages, right before she grants you the Spirit Medallion with a dual symbol, fitting to the whole duality of this place. Oh, and she says the following: "If only I knew you would grow to become such a handsome man. I should have kept the promise I made back then." Nabooru to the Hero of Time, adult and downfall timelines. The great act of heroism and sacrifice by the lead female Gerudo is the reason as to why divine beast Vanaboris in Breath of the Wild is named after the one who opposed the evil king. Though there's one final duality tied to the Spirit Temple, which is found outside the temple of Koume and Kotake, with Ganondorf as the king of evil, followed then by using the Triforce of Power or complete Triforce in the Downfall timeline to become Ganon, the Demon King. But that is the final dungeon theory for a different video, and the duality of Hyrule and Ganon's castle. That, and in the child timeline, the duality of the Spirit Temple and Arbiter's Grounds. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the duality of the Spirit Temple. Do you agree with this branching of the topic, or do you think we missed something important? Then comment down below. And to show that you want more theories of past Zelda games like this one among our Breath of the Wild 2 videos, then be sure to click that like, subscribe and notification bell buttons. The more the better. Last but not least, a big thanks goes to all of you watching and all our patreon.com/ComeAround patrons, and in particular, role producer Chalshash. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.